Hi everyone and welcome to The Spectrum. I'm your host, Ronan Beckerman, and this is session number 1. Today, we'll hit the ground running by listening to the interviews I did at SOA Academy Day number 5. That is almost 3 years ago and in many ways represents this podcast inception point. So, stay tuned and enjoy my conversation with Mats and Trond for VRay, Juraj Talcik and Hotovỳ for Corona Render, Peter Guthrie, Christiaan Klaassen from DBOX and Pedro Fernandes from Archi9. Here we go. This is session number 1, revisiting SOA Academy Day number 5. Hello, we are here in Academy Day number 5, and with me is Mats and Trond from VRay in Norway. And I would like to start with a question picking up on the title of your presentation yesterday, which is VRay is a restaurant. So the concept of having a studio doing visualizations with tables and like some kind of rigid construct in which you fit your client's work. I'm interested to know how can you distill this flexible nature of the work and the dynamics of architectural projects within that kind of rigid construct.
Yeah, thank you. It's this rigidness when we book 1 week per one person for one image. It has a lot to do with preparation, preparing the client, how we do it. So it means we tell them up front that we're going to do this starting on Monday at 9. Friday evening we're finished. So it means that we have to do certain things to make sure this is the way. And then, as you say, the nature is not so easy. So they say, oh yeah, but we cannot have the 3D model finished by Monday. So then we agree that they give us a preliminary model on the Monday morning. And by Tuesday or Wednesday, they provide us with the final model. And this way we can still work within this. So we have some flexibility in that sense. And also, if we have the time for it, maybe we can even get a head start the Friday before on the next week's project. So we have a little bit of flex, more than maybe we give the impression to the client. And of course, in the end, when it always happens that the boss on the top that nobody heard about before, he has the comment that we need to change everything on the Friday, then they know that this will have serious consequences. So we might not have time to do it. If we do it, we anyway have to charge extra for it. So we have, in that sense, we prepare them for this rigidness. So in most cases it works out, because I think they take this into consideration when they book us and when they plan ahead, preparing the people that they have to answer to, that they have to give the feedback earlier in the week. So it's time, yeah. So maybe you have something more.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a cliche, this thing, because the way I read your answer is also how you can sort of perform artistically within sort of this kind of strict frame set. And I think it's a bit of a cliche that artists sort of like go about things in a very whimsical way. If you look at the writers, for instance, most of them have quite strict working procedures. They get up, they write, and they go home, sort of. And that's something that we met at art school, and we sort of found this, that people are sort of living this idea of like this bohème or whatever, and sort of that's what you need to make art, and they sit on the floor with drawings everywhere. And we sort of like, I think that's one of the things that sort of where we found each other. That's not how things work for us. You know, you have to sit down and sort of reserve time for when you're actually going to do things. You agree about that?
Yeah. Actually, this is a very long answer to the question, but yeah. But I remember we there was this time about the period when we really had to think, where should we take Mir now? Because we were overworked, and as Trond has talked about in the lectures, so we made this like commandments. It was the 11 commandments actually. What needs to be the circumstance and the working climate for us as artists to perform the best? So then one of these, we need to have the time and attention to this one project and not handle a million projects at the same time. So this is where it comes from, this with the booking, back to your question, that we need to be dedicated to this client and to this image as much as we can, with a little bit of flex maybe before and after, but this dedication is one of the prime things we decided on doing.
It's an issue of focus. I mean, essentially, it's like focusing on the project, on the client, without any distraction, and then just each one in his own time. Okay, cool. Also, picking up on the presentation, you also mentioned that you do not consider yourself as technical artist, and that the actual software being used for modeling or for rendering doesn't have really a big of an issue about the end result. So seeing new technologies being developed and considering each artist that might come work in your studio might use something else, how do you see yourself in relation to that, and within like 5 years from now, how Mir will go about doing its visualizations considering these developments?
Yes, that's an interesting question, and I also heard throughout the day that people still wonder if we have where's the secret technical tips that we are not telling everyone. But again, I mean, since images have been part of the human nature, whether it's painting or just some line drawing in the sand, going way back, it's still not a matter of the technical aspects, the way we approach it. And there is a base of because the technology that we're using, and we're not using pencils and pens, we're using computers and software. So of course it's a big part. And maybe the technical part was actually what getting us into this in the first place, because they're interested in the 3D and Photoshop and opportunities that it provided. But for us now, for Trond and myself, we can't keep up with the technical development so much, and we are okay with that, because we see that even with pretty old versions of Lightwave, we are managing to make the images that we in the heart feel is the good image. But that said, when the new guys come in the office, not a generation with more technical knowledge than ourselves, it's very refreshing also. And the tools that they provide, for example, doing aerial images, and they can come up with these forests and trees, roads and everything that looks computer generated. For me and Trond, it would be more hard to do it because we would need to spend hours matte painting all this stuff together if you don't have a photo. So clearly it's advantages, but we still think in 5 years that it will not change so much. We'll have new tools, new things to help us, maybe move quicker along with quicker software. But the fundamentals, like Trond has been lecturing about these 2 lectures, about the emotions in images, is still that big of a part of it that we're not so scared about not keeping up maybe 100% on the technical part.
No, just that we're not like purists in any way about this, that we don't, it's not like we hate computers or everything. I think we just adapt to whatever makes sense, and it's been like that since the start. Like you see something, but we're not, I don't think we are the guys who's going to push anything, but we appreciate, and it's much fun to see the advancement in technology and everything.
So, just a quick like a comparison. It's in the old days, people using paint and canvas and brushes. I'm pretty sure they also, the way they taught each other to do these paintings, they're also discussing the different pigments and the different canvas types and how all these techniques. But in the end, the paintings that we remember today, of course, it's a result of techniques and materials and these things. But I still think this is not the biggest part of this. You say? Yeah, it's not. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap it up, I think it will be very interesting to the viewers to know a little bit more about you as partners, and tell us a little bit about how it is to be a partner and what is your actual daily work look like as the guys that run Mir behind the scenes. And if I can add to that is if someone is looking to work in your studio, and I'm sure there are many who want to do this, what should they focus on when they approach you?
Yeah, the first question, me and Trond has kind of, at the rather grown-up age, we got together, starting to form this company. It's been because we wanted to be artists and make the images, because this is what we like to do. Of course, as the year goes and we had more employees, we also had to do more of the managing role and making sure that all the images, all the concepts being developed was in line with our philosophy and looking good, and also follow it all the way through to the final delivery, maintaining the style and the quality that we think we need to have as a Mir product. But now, when we have reached like 10 to 14 people, it's become clear to us that our job in office is more and more becoming coaches or managers than actually doing the art, which is a little bit painful actually. But so then we have kind of split it up a little bit. We have been every second week we're booked on a project, doing like all the other guys are doing, and every second week the other guy is actually walking around helping the teams that maybe need more support on difficult projects, making sure everything runs smoothly. But actually now we reached 14 people. We see that we actually both of us have to do this job. So now we still do. I mean, if there's get some inquiries that we really think is interesting and would fit the way we our low technical level, yeah. Then we would still really enjoy to do this work as well, and get critiqued by the rest of the team like anyone would. Yeah. Yeah, and the other question.
If someone wants to work in your studio, I mean, obviously you need to send portfolio, but what are the specific, like, I don't know, 3 things that you would say they should focus on to get your attention?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm usually the guy who browses through the job interviews, so I can. What usually happens is that when you see a good portfolio, it's like that. You just browse through it and you see, okay, this is good. Then usually it misses like a proper daytime sunny image, and that's like our sort of test. If it floats or sinks. So we often ask for that, because that sort of reveals a little bit about understanding of light and shadow, and it's like a very, in one way it's a very easy thing to make, but to make it into something more is quite almost like an achievement, like a normal daytime view with blue sky. So we ask for that. Not much more. People have to fit like the. We always have this little interview on Skype with people, and it's very important that we find a tone, can talk to each other and all of this, because like with me and Mats, we're almost like married now. We've been working. I'm more with him than my girlfriend, you know, unfortunately. But I started to sort of love him as family, and it's started becoming a bit like that with the rest of the team now as well. So you sort of have to make sure that people will fit into that, and I have to find an interest or like a long-term interest in being a visualizer, but also being sort of part of that Mir thing. So we want people who sort of have their heart in the game, sort of. But portfolio-wise, there's no like big secrets. We're getting a little bit sort of the interior images, and also like this one sort of pavilion in some sort of woods. Rendered with some sort of standard scene. It's getting like something, and it's a bit annoying because it always looks good, but it doesn't really tell that much about the skill level of whoever sends it. So yeah.
I could just add something to that. Just going back to you talked about the sunny daytime renders, and then you think that, okay, I mean, like the stereotypical picture of what we do at Mir. Let's say we have like a dark clouds and this strong sea depth of fog and very desaturated themes. It's actually not the most difficult to do, because whether this grey sky is a little bit brighter or a little bit darker, and the mountains in the background are a little bit like this or that, it doesn't really matter in these type of images. But when you move to the sunny daytime images with the clear blue sky, the vegetation, then all of a sudden it becomes very clear if something is not right. If the sky is a little bit off, the shadow of something is a little bit strange, and the shadow is too bright or you instantly spot the eye, the sensitivity in the eye of the artist in this image. So when people in the office maybe they get assigned to do some residential project that have this kind of theme, maybe this is maybe not the coolest project, blah blah blah, and then I tell them, but this is your challenge. If you can make this good, then you can make all the other amazing concert halls with the shadow, the dark themes good. So that's just. And then just quickly on the quality before quantity in a portfolio submission. And also, if you give us a few images and also can verbalize a little bit around the image. Not just attach a whole bunch of images. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah.
Because then we can see the mind and the idea and your thought process behind the image. And that tells us a lot.
If you are an architect looking for work in the archivist business, do not send your architectural portfolio with plans and text and all of this shit. I'm so tired of reading through stuff like that. And it absolutely does not make sense, because we make images and these images should stand on their own.
This was great, guys, and thank you very much. And we'll see you in the next video. Hello, we are here in Academy Day number 5, and this time I have Juraj Talcik and Adam Hotovỳ here with me to speak about Corona a little bit. So, Juraj, you've been featured on my blog several times, and it's great to meet you again here. And you too, Adam. You have a great body of work, and everything is so photoreal. So, I would like to ask you, you made the switch between VRay to Corona, maybe not full time, but you started to use this render engine quite a lot. So can you tell us a little bit more about it? Why are you using it and why you like it so much?
Yes, sure. I started using Corona 1 year ago in July, when I was like on the very moment I was pretty desperate with a project that I think I wasn't getting the type of quality for the effort that I was spending optimizing it at all. It's not that it wouldn't give me what I wanted, but I felt like I was spending way too much time to get something that I felt should be like automatical. So I was looking into some simpler solution. I actually knew quite a few other renderers. Well, I was using Octane, I was using Maxwell by the summer, but I was looking for something even easier, something that could be easier to switch to, because I didn't want to rebuild the project. And Corona definitely offered all that by the time, because they already had like a converter. So that was like the only feature that converted me to it. I didn't know much about it else. I knew it was made by one guy, which made me very distrustful of it. That's why I didn't try it earlier. I knew Corona for like one more year, but you know, simple solutions. But I was pretty convinced. The moment I like installed it, and like I showed in the presentation, you just switch the button, you convert the scene, you press the render, and you're there. Then you just wait some time and you have your final image, and you don't need to concentrate on anything else. It definitely saves some time. It saves you a lot of patience that you can instead then focus on building your projects.
Okay, that's nice. So, picking up on the photoreal style, what are your references for creating your work? I've seen you presented the work, a scene recreating a project by Marcio Kogan. So, you're referencing architecture. Do you have some other sources? Photography for photographers that you want to share with us? Yes. What's your process when you start a project? I mean, where do you begin before you start modeling and doing initial renders?
Yes, I do. Even though my aim for photorealism doesn't stem from like photography, as I mentioned is more from like computer games. It's the immersion of the reality that I want to see in the project. So it's not about particular style. The style of the imagery is dictated by architectural photography, and it's mostly by famous photographers like Fernando Guerra from Ultimas Reportagens, who has the kind of style that I'm going for, which is simple and somehow documentative. So it's not very like, I don't know, epic, like, it's far more simpler, and it's much more broad. They usually document the architecture in a large series, like many images, like 20 and even more images. And neither of the image is somehow special, but together is the whole body of that describes the project in a way that I think one super powerful image couldn't do. And this is something I try to replicate and take a great inspiration from.
Thank you. Adam, I got to know you, I think, in Academy Day number 3, but obviously I knew about you before that, and you recently made a big change in your personal work life, professional life, dedicating full time to Corona Render. So I think it will be very interesting for the viewers to know what made you make this decision and where are you going ahead with this?
Okay. I have to say it was kind of natural transition. It didn't happen overnight. It was very well planned for some time, because I was working on the Corona for really, really long time, but only as a side project, as a part-time. But since we started a company and I started to have more responsibilities, I realized I can't do 2 things at once. So one of the things had to go, and I see much more potential in Corona Render in terms of that I can use all of that experience and knowledge which I have, and I can basically channel it to Corona Render. So I think that last month I did the last job in visualization, but I hope that I will still do something, but let's say 1 job per month, but that will be mostly all around tutorials. That will be probably it. Yeah. Otherwise, everything was enjoyable so far.
Can you please tell more information about the licensing structure you presented, because it's not something that's familiar in this business. So
okay, one of the biggest problems which we had was how we should license it and how we should what kind of type of licenses we should give to the artist, because there is a traditional box model which I don't like at all, because it gives you really I have to say it again. The bad thing about the box model is that once per time, let's say once per 12 months or 24 months, you have to release some kind of bigger upgrade and people have to buy it. But our development is really continuous. So every time we will produce something new, we want to give it to the users straight away. So the box model wasn't an option for us. So we come up with this kind of fair SaaS model, which will give you the ability to deliver straight away the latest version to the users, but it will not have a traditional disadvantages of SaaS like Adobe's got it. For example, if you want to cancel this SaaS, you can do it straight away. You don't have to pay minimum 6 months. You don't have to pay 1 year in advance. And so, for example, if you're going for holiday and you will not be using the software, you can just cancel it and buy it again once you're back. And there's no entry fee or anything. You will just pay really strictly just per month. But traditional box model will be available as well, but I wouldn't say it will be the better option. Absolutely the best option is SAS, which we'll offer. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So, expected release date, you can't be specific, but you can like give a time frame so people can know when to visit the website?
Well, I really hope that we will make everything by November. I would be pretty happy if everything will happen in the first week of November. But, we will see what kind of problems we will encounter at the very last moment, as it usually happens in development.
Okay, so thank you very much for you both, and hope to see you next Academy Day, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, so hi everybody, we're here in the Academy Day number 5 with Peter Guthrie. This is the 4th time for us since Academy Day number 2, so he's no stranger to this venue, and it looked like you had a busy year last year, so any kind of interesting news you can share with us?
Yeah, I've been very busy working on more and more high-end New York residential projects. So the news you're alluding to is that myself and my friend Henry Goss have started a new venture together. We're going to be called The Boundary, and we started officially about 2 days ago. So it's fresh news, hot off the press. We have 1 employee already, and we're going to just be continuing to do the same kind of work I'm known for, and Henry is known for as well, because he's started to build himself quite a reputation and good portfolio in visualization.
Okay, cool. So that's really exciting news. How will your HDRI shop be affected by that? I mean, do you plan to keep this going? And I've seen recently that you released new skies, and where do you plan to take this? And can we expect some new stuff really soon?
Yeah, the new venture won't really affect my Peter Guthrie visualization brand or blog or Sky shop, which I now have had online for about 3 months on my website. I will continue to blog as much as I can, hopefully more often. That's the grand plan. I started to release series 2 on my website of the skies. I think I have about 12 or so, maybe not even that many online. I've got another 20 or so to upload when I find time, and I plan to just continue trying to shoot new skies to sell.
Okay, great. And Gianpiero told me something really interesting that's going to happen next year related to the State of Art Academy and involving you as well. So would you be kind enough to tell us what's going to be?
Sometime next year. We haven't decided when exactly, but probably March or April. I said to Roberto, whenever the weather gets nice in Italy, that's when I'll come here. But I'm going to help them out with a 1-week masterclass workshop, whatever they call it. We haven't really discussed how it's going to work or what the subject will be or anything like that, but I'm sure it'll be really good fun and looking forward to it, and we can share more details soon, hopefully, once we've fleshed it out.
So it looks like people can have a chance to come and get some of the Peter Guthrie magic. Okay, so that's great news, right? Also, I hope you enjoyed this event, and I hope to see you here next year. And cheers, everybody. See you on the website. Hi, everybody. We're here in the Academy Day number 5 in Venice at the Move Hotel, and I have with me Christiaan Klaassen from DBOX, who's been presenting yesterday and today. And I would just like to ask him a few questions. And to begin with, I would like to ask you, what is your favorite projects that you did during your years in DBOX? And if you can give an example of what your daily work looked like during such a project.
So I spoke about today about 425 Park Avenue, and that was one of the real moments that I was really kind of happy. And when I see Norman Foster presenting our work, that's one of the kind of things that when you're proud of your work and you can see it in the global kind of market and see it around. And today, my day-to-day in the office now is really directing the team and maintaining the relationships between clients and team members and controlling the workflow and the kind of general setup of the CGI department.
Okay, and if I can add to that one, it's really interesting because DBOX is more like a complete agency providing a full service, starting from branding and all the way to publication of a project in print and TV. So CGI is just a part of this. So if you can maybe shed some light how the big team synchronizes such a project, and also if you can add comments to projects being done in London and New York specifically, because you've shown in your presentation you have a rough full city model that you use to do the pre-visualization. So I would be interested to learn about that also.
So the teams are really kind of built up, and there's in the London. I'll take the London office as an example. I know better. I mean, we've got the CGI, the photography department, the graphic design, and when we start on a project, there's really kind of the pitching process for the project that you go through. And there's documents and presentations that we put together as a team that involves all the partners, the team members. We're all collaborating on that kind of pitch idea of what the concept is behind our approach to the scheme. Each project is different, and the kind of scope, and then the CGI team, like as I've shown today, is kind of double-faceted. And when we're not working on these big account jobs, we're looking at day-to-day from architects and visualizations.
Okay, and to wrap it up, I'm always interested in doing things the photoreal way or doing them more stylized. And so you did mention that you see yourself more as illustrators rather than photorealist artists. So I would like to ask you more about it, and knowing that you love photography, how does that play together, and what's the main thing that you try to get in a shot, in an image, and what's the most important thing relating to the photorealism versus being more artistic about it?
I think the most important thing from our images is a narrative, and it's telling a story. The photography side of it, I mean, that's where I have my own sort of fascination in trying to replicate certain parts of photography, but also knowing that I'm in control of those bits, and if I need to change the settings or to tweak things, and I've got that control that I don't have in the real world with photos. And it's about just capturing those kind of moments and putting the time in to find where those unique vantage points or unique times of day where the architecture or the design is working.
One more. You use photography not just as the general setback for the project. You use it for taking pictures of almost every prop, and also specifically taking shots of people within the shots. Is this always the process, or do you sometimes use pre-made shots of previous projects, or just libraries available online for a specific shot, or is always something that is customly made for a specific project? I mean, you always aim to be dedicated per each project with everything, all the assets that you create for.
Every project we try and approach in the same way, and it's that level of detail where if we have the right member or the right person to fit scenes, then we will try to do the custom shoot. We're introducing a lot more now that when the client is very specific about the type of people that they want, then that is the service that we provide, where we want to get those custom people in so they can be fully integrated into the view, and we're not trying to just go and capture people on the street, and it's a lot more kind of directed and thought about in the process.
Okay, thank you very much, Christiaan, and I hope you enjoy this one, and I invite you all to come to the Academy Day number 6 next year. So thank you very much. Hello guys, we're here in Academy Day number 5 and I have with me Pedro Fernandes. Very nice to meet you. You've been featured on my blog several times and it's really nice to meet you in person. I would like to ask you, you have a history of working in some big name studios and you've decided to went on your own and you're now forming your own studio. So I think it will be very interesting for the listeners to know if one of them wants to work in such a big studio, or if someone already works but he's kind of like pondering going on his own way but a little bit hesitant of doing so. What could your tips be for these artists?
Well, thank you, Ronan. I guess everyone can thank Ronan. He's been an amazing inspiration to us all and taught us all. We all grew with your blog and all your information. I guess the best tip I could give, and this was given to me a long time ago, and it was actually what made me break through. I was presenting a portfolio with 20, 30 images, and someone was viewing it at the time, and that person was not the most politically correct person. He, let's just say he wasn't the most well-trained with people, but he analyzed my portfolio, and he goes, look, this is really bad, this is really bad. He didn't call it bad, called it other words. This is good, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And then at the end, I said, I was heartbroken, but I said, how can I get better? And he said, take out all the bad, leave 5, 6 images. That's all you need. And I did that, and I think a month or so later, I was coming to London to work. So simplify is one of the main things, and choose the best pieces. Another one is probably, practice, get to a level where you see that your work fits in with a company's work, and it's at a similar level. Sometimes companies, they're not looking for guys that are amazing at post-production. They're looking for guys who are amazing at 3D. So there's, specialize in something, get good at it, and that company, if they see your work, I'm sure they're going to go to you, In companies, it's very stratified, and there are various types of departments and studios. And what really happens is you kind of end up sharing the studio with other people who do different tasks. Everyone gets to do a different task and what they're specialized in. So I guess those are my 2 basic tips. And never feel down. Just get knocked down, go back up, and that's probably the biggest one. Oh, if you want to go on your own, that's it's risky, but at the same time, I think it's the most rewarding. I have so much more stresses now, and I still do images. I still love doing them, and I guess to go on your own, it's just having the mindset that you want to do it, and actually, meeting people, knowing the people who are asking you for work. After a while, things just came naturally. So more and more clients started coming, and they started coming to me and contacting me directly, and clients from all over, not specifically people from the past. And I guess it all went from there. And I said, okay, one day this has got to change. And that's what I did. So I was working at home, progressively got a studio, now have someone working with me, and it's amazing. It's a growing process. So it's becoming like my son or my daughter, and it's a part of me. I hurt when it hurts. I feel the emotion and the passion related to it, and I guess, go for it. If you feel it, one day you have to do it, and it just generally creeps up on you before you know it, you're doing it. So I guess that's really what I can tell people, and the way that they can get into things. So I hope that answers.
Sure did. You're also an architect, and you've practiced architecture before, so I would like to know how that comes into play in your daily work, because obviously there are 3D artists who didn't study architecture, but they are representing architecture, the showcase architecture. What's your advantage in being one?
I don't know if I have an advantage. After I went to London, I learned that there was just so many people from so many areas, and I thought, in the beginning I thought, I was quite advantaged because I do architecture, but no, I learned so much with all these other people. The great thing about architecture and understanding it is you can relate to a client's comments. So what happens is lots of times, and I have clients that are like friends, and I first worked at their studios, and now they're contracting me. So we have a very friendly relationship, and what happens is they'll send me a volume, and we have such a process that we know each other, and we just flow. You know, it's amazing because I know what they're after, and they give me freedom to create, even more sometimes than in the studio. So here's our volume. We want louvers, we want this, we want that. This is our basic scheme, and from there you create it. So that it's a back and forth. So I feel like I'm back in the studio in that respect, and yeah. And I guess it's really good to have that background, and I think I do the fun part of architecture, you know, and I get away with the fun part, and I guess in that aspect it's really, really good, and to be an architect and understand and relate helps a lot for sure.
Well, I can surely relate to that one. So to wrap it up, final question and a remark on your body of work. You have certain style to it. Obviously, you're influenced from cinematic works and from sci-fi works. And I was wondering if you can maybe comment a little bit more about it and how does that come into play with your clients? Because I would imagine not everybody loves Blade Runner or Ridley Scott movies. So how does that come into play?
Oh man, so badly. Yeah, I very rarely get away with anything to do with Blade Runner. But yeah, it's really hard. I was inspired. I grew up on Blade Runner. I grew up on Star Wars. I grew up on all these amazing movies. I remember in primary school, I was going with my dad to cinema to see. I was 6, 7, and I was seeing PG-15 movies. I was seeing, all my friends talking about The Lion King, and I was talking about, I don't know, Die Hard or something. And it's not the best choice, but that inspired me a lot. And I think these reminiscent memories stay in your brain as a child, and you output them through various ways. And when I came to work with visualization, it was a freedom to do something. And we saw yesterday one of the pieces that I showed, one of the map painting pieces, and that was like a mark in my career. But I never did anything related to map painting directly. But it was just the feeling that now I have the tools to create. Took a month off and said, I'm just going to create this. And it was a great inspiration. Slowly, I started to tone down things because also you have to work, live, breathe, and your clients are not going to buy that. So what happens is I had to kind of transform that into the architectural realm. And once I started to transform that into the architectural realm and start to get those colors, that feeling, that really started to come together. And I guess slowly I've started to get my style along to other clients, and it's really a tricky step. But yeah, I mean it's definitely not easy to convince them. But I think sometimes the first draft or an idea, and then I get on the phone. I like to call them if I'm really passionate, and I try to think that I can sway them with my voice. Never works, but but I guess this is their baby, and they want to see their baby in the best light, as I, when I take on this stuff, want to do for them. So yeah, it's very tricky. So
cool. Okay, so thank you very much. Okay, I know you have another session to do, so we'll cut this short, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao. That is all for session number 1. Thank you very much for listening, and be sure to subscribe so you get the next sessions into your podcast player. Bye bye now.